Great, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm calling this meeting of the Public Safety Communications Task Force to order. It is 11:15 on June 18th, 2025, and I'm Barbara Neal. As a reminder, the meeting's being recorded, and that recording will be posted to the task force webpage following the meeting. Let's start with a roll call of the task force members. So we'll start with Dan Batesy.
Here.
Thank you. Paul White.
Here.
Morning. Jim Mack.
Here.
Morning. Mike Dungis.
Here.
Okay. And Michael Wright.
I'm here.
Morning. Okay. And I do not see Ron on the call. Is that correct?
I don't see him either.
Yeah. Okay. All right. He may join in a bit then. I didn't get a response to the quorum check from him, so he might not be available. At any rate, also joining us today is Emily Mullaney as our administrative support person, and our project management partners, Rick and Dom from Televate. Good morning.
Right.
And from Mission Critical, we have Jason Malloy. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning.
And let's see, we also have it looks like several members of the public with us. Kim Cheney, would you like to introduce yourself? You're muted, Kim.
Kim Cheney. I just have a general interest in this subject and want to hear what's going on.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining us. Senator Renner, go ahead.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Recent senator and recent JITALK member. Always interested in what you're doing. Thanks.
Thank you. And I see someone with the phone number, the last four are 0805. I'm not sure who that is, but could you introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, this is Sharon Russo from EF Johnson. I was on last week's call and I figured I would kind of listen in today and see if anything came out of the week. So in terms of course, the communication system. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining us. All right, let's move on then to approval of the agenda. The agenda was distributed to task force members by email. It's available on the webpage. Do task force members have any proposed changes to the agenda? All right. Hearing nothing.
There are a couple items. There are a couple items. I don't know if you want to take them up under new business or if you want to add them to the agenda. One being the public meeting law question, and then the second being last week Dan had presented us with more of a draft or philosophical musings about the VHF project.
Right. I think we'll cover that topic under the project updates.
Okay.
And I had planned to do the open meeting question under new business.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yep. Then I have nothing to add to the agenda then.
Okay. Excellent. Then we will consider the agenda approved and move on to approval of the minutes. These are the minutes from the June 11th meeting, regular meeting number 52. Any changes needed to these minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you, Jim. Any discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes from June 11th, raise your hand or signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Excellent. All right, see all hands up except for Mike Dungis. There we go. All right, the minutes are approved. And we will go on to project updates. Let's go first. Let's go to Dom at Televate. Tell us where we are these days, Dom.
All right, thanks, Barb. Our activity has been focused on the detailed evaluation of the system planning document that MCP provided. We have put together a schedule for evaluation and identified team members for the individual working groups. The individual working groups are working to put together preparatory, essentially, information to address the specific areas of the report. and to provide that information to the task force at the public meetings. We did adjust the schedule recently, and I'd like to show that. There was an initial meeting of the inorganic working group, but that group essentially determined to delay most of its activities until there was additional information in terms of priorities and a potential vision for each of the areas for the from the other working groups. So that's where we are there, and the there was a scheduled meeting of the governance working group that was delayed. That has been delayed due to the discussion regarding the open meetings request. We have updated the schedule, as I mentioned, and actually tried to move some things in to make it a little more aggressive. We had first intended to address the organic via inorganic approaches to regionalization in parallel with governance. Preparatory material has been developed for those two sections and distributed to the task force participants, but that has not been reviewed yet. Also the groups for Tier 2, 3, and Tier 1 have all been established. No material has been developed for those yet, although that is something we anticipate beginning working on quite soon. We have tried to improve or move that schedule up a little bit, both for the Tier 2 and Tier 3, since we took the organic and inorganic and wanted to delay much of that work until after, as I mentioned, after some preliminary vision is available from those other working groups. So that's why we put a couple of weeks of work in August for that organic inorganic working group, and then a couple weeks in October following discussions of those other working groups. So looking for, I guess, potential feedback from the task force members regarding the schedule, if this seems acceptable or if there are any concerns with that. Again, looking at the Tier 2, Tier 3 running in parallel through most of July, actually starting quite soon and then running through July. That does have both Ron Kumitz and Jim Mack in both of those, so that needs to be reviewed. And then the physical regionalization Tier 1, we also tried to improve that schedule and move that up into the August-September timeframe. So that's where most of our work has been recently, Barb, and we're currently on hold with those meetings until we determine the appropriate move forward.
Right. Okay, excellent. And we'll have more discussion around that when we get into new business. And so I think we'll be able to make some progress on how we want to move forward. So thank you, Dom. Jason, do you have anything you'd like to add from Mission Critical's perspective to project updates?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Dan, you wanted to put out a reminder to task force members about feedback on the RTS presentation.
Thank you, Barb. Yeah, I just wanted to make a note. So at the last meeting, I presented a draft of what we are considering as a proposal. It is not a proposal yet. We have not put anything for decision-making purposes before you. But we drafted that because a number of you had questions after we talked about the VHF project idea initially. If you do have feedback on that, I'd ask that you please get it back to me prior to next meeting, or if you have specific technical questions, please reach out to Corey Chase, who can answer those technical questions for you. My goal is to make a decision about this proposal. That is not you making a decision, but DPS making a decision as to whether this will be a proposal or not by next meeting. So if there is something to discuss, if there is something that that will require your attention, that will be forthcoming, but it is not here yet.
Okay, great. And we will put an agenda item on next meeting's agenda for that RTS for a placeholder. And Emily, if you can help me remember that, that would be great. So, okay.
I would like to point out, Dan, Televate has been reviewing that idea, and we have been, Rick and I have been discussing it amongst ourselves. We will have some feedback for you certainly prior to next meeting.
Great, thank you. And just also to be clear that if there is a need for, there will be an opportunity for discussion if this becomes a proposal. It's not a proposal yet, but we will make sure that this is out, and all stakeholders involved in this process will have the opportunity to make comments.
Okay. Great. That sounds good. Okay. Anything else for project updates? Okay. New business. So we do have an item under new business today. We received on Monday an email from Stephen Whitaker outlining what he believes to be an open meeting law violation. His position stated, and I'm quoting here, that the 3 or more meetings of the Regionalization, Technology, and Governance Working Groups serving as designated subcommittees to the Public Safety Communications Task Force failed to warn and conduct open meetings. And there's a little bit more to it, but that's the gist of it. Mr. Whitaker's notice included, as it was supposed to, a proposed cure for what he believed to be this violation. So Dan, Paul, and I met with legal counsel yesterday to discuss this notice and the requirements around how the task force is required to handle these and how to respond to them. In our conversation, we concluded that there was not a violation of the open meeting law because the task force had not viewed these groups as public bodies, and to the extent that they have met, they have not acted as a public body. Dom gave a summary of how the first group essentially deferred their work till later in the process. And then the second group, which I was a part of, did not proceed with our planned meeting because we were considering the open meeting law violation notice. So we will be asking you this morning to find, if you are in agreement, that there was no violation that occurred and therefore no cure is required. So that's part 1. Part 2 of the discussion centered around whether or not the task force should consider these working groups, these group, members of the task force as advisory bodies, essentially, to the task force. And if we were to recognize those groups as such, they would then be required to hold their meetings in an open meeting under the requirements of the open meeting law. So we would have to warn the meetings, we would have to post the agenda and take minutes. There are certain requirements of the law, which would make sure we hammer out the details. The opinion of the 3 of us, and if any opinions have changed since then, Dan or Paul, let me know, but was that out of an abundance of caution and in an effort to be clearly transparent, we recommend that going forward, the task force does recognize these groups as advisory public bodies, which will meet in public as required. So, questions, discussion around this? Maybe Paul or Dan, do you have anything to add to that based on our conversation with legal?
Yeah, I would just reemphasize that we are doing this only out of an abundance of caution, not because we feel that the work is public. We still don't think, remember that these meetings are not designed to be substantive. They're not designed to make decisions. They're only designed to be preparatory for the public meetings, right? This is designed for us to get our questions in order, get the necessary resources in order to enable asking of the questions. However, that said, and especially given the context that at least one person feels that we've done something wrong, we want to be abundantly cautious and overly transparent, and that's why we would be proceeding in this direction.
Thank you, Dan. That helps with context. Any questions from task force members on where we are? I'm hearing some background, but who's speaking? Oh, it might have been you, Michael. Something in the background? No, okay. Okay, the task force has to respond to the open meeting law violation, and I will turn to Paul here for perhaps a motion that the task force should consider.
Sure. I will make a motion that the task force find that there was no open meeting law violation as complained earlier this week, and that therefore, because there was no violation, no cure is required. And further, that the task force should, moving forward, consider these working groups to be advisory public bodies, and that those advisory public bodies will meet in accordance with the public meeting law.
Thank you for the motion, Michael. Mike Dunges, thank you for the second. Discussion. Jim Mack, did you have?
I was just going to second it.
Oh, okay. Is there any discussion?
Barb, the only limitation that I will add to this is public safety does not have an unlimited administrative budget to do this. And as we reconcile the need to make these public, we may need to have a further discussion, maybe today, maybe at a later point, to determine how we do this and what the appropriate pacing is and scheduling is. Again, just simply because we don't have an unlimited capability to do all of the administrative functions that's necessary.
Yes, understood. And that was a clear concern from DPS. So I think we can work with Televate. One of the ideas that's been tossed around that is to schedule get all of the meetings on the books with an agenda, it basically in one document, so that the administrative person can post this information and publicly warn and whatever else needs to be done, kind of all in one fell swoop. And then we will figure out the details of how we will take minutes. I don't think in this case these particular meetings need to be recorded, but we will double check on that. So if that makes sense, we'll work with Rick and Dom to hammer out those details.
I would just say that obviously if these working groups are going to be considered public bodies, then of course we have to abide by the state's open meeting law. However, the task force doesn't have its own staff. The task force doesn't have, we have on loan to us once every couple of weeks someone to take our minutes and do our agendas. But whatever we can, I would say we want to be transparent, we want to abide by the law, but we also need to recognize the fact that this is what we're proposing to do is burdensome. So my understanding is that this classification of a public body, this advisory public body, does not require that the meetings be recorded. Is that your understanding as well? So yes. We'll warn the meetings, we'll post an agenda, and we'll take minutes. But the minutes will probably be pretty sparse.
And there will be an opportunity at each for public comment. There'll be a public comment period, a item on the agenda for public comment.
Right. But considering we have 7 of these working groups that are going to be working in overlapping fashion, in addition to the task force itself, Absent dedicated staff, I think people's expectations have to be appropriate.
Yes. Agreed. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. All right. All in favor of the motion that Paul stated, raise your hand or indicate by saying aye. All right. I see all hand. Mike Dungus, did you have a vote?
I
Okay.
said aye, but.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. Okay.
It's okay.
That motion has passed and we are moving on. And Rick and Dom, I will get with you about what all this means after the meeting. Okay. Does anyone have any other new business for today? Alrighty. Then I meant to mention this at the beginning when I opened the meeting. We jumbled the agenda around a little bit so that we put public comment at the end of our discussion rather than at the beginning. Seems to give people a better opportunity to comment on the day's conversation. So I will open it up now to public comment. I will start with Sharon. Why don't we start with you? Do you have anything to share?
I do not at this time, but I do have a question about the document that everyone was talking about. If that's on the website, if someone could point that would be great.
Which document are you referring to?
Oh, the one that was specifying information about the VHF, unless that's not privy at the moment.
Oh, I don't think, Dan, is that, where is that?
I don't see any reason why we couldn't share it with you. I probably should just double check that, but I mean, it's not a secret.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
I'll leave that with you then.
Yeah,
Dan.
I'll, let me just make sure that I'm not violating any confidentialities, but it's not secret. It's,
Okay. Okay. And then will you be able to get in touch with Sharon directly?
yeah,
So Corey does have my information. We have exchanged emails, calls, and such. So if you want to point it towards him or whatever, I mean.
Sharon, how about this? How about if I just put my email in the chat, and if you just send me an email, I'll be glad to follow up with you directly.
Actually, you know what? I've got a pen and paper. Let me write it down.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So it's Daniel, Daniel, Batsie, Batsie, at Vermont.
B-I-S-E, right?
Batsie.
O-S-I-E. Okay.
Yep,
Thank
at
you.
vermont.gov.
Okay.
And I'll be glad to follow
And
up with you directly.
So, and it is Daniel as in D as in dog, A as in apple, N as in Nancy, I as in igloo, E as in Edward, L as in Larry.
Correct.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, good. Great. Senator Renner, do you have comments today?
Yes, I'd like to thank you for your suggestion to hold those advisory group meetings as public meetings. And I would also add, if you could just record them. A lot of us use the transcript and prefer that over minutes, which, are subject to human interpretation. I find it very helpful to just go to the YouTube and go to transcripts. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We'll take that under consideration. And Kim Cheney, how about you?
No, I have no comment.
Okay. All right. I think I covered everyone for public comment. So the next agenda item is to confirm the next meeting date, which is July 2nd. So we're back on our regular 2-week cadence. And if there's nothing further,
I guess I do.
Okay,
So,
Paul, go ahead.
we had talked about putting together a schedule, trying to consolidate scheduling onto one document for ease of posting for the working group meetings. So we're not going to wait 2 weeks to get those going. Will Dom and Rick just run with that and schedule those
Yes.
meetings? Or okay.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
we'll
That
work
was
on
my
doing that.
plan, and I was hoping it was
Okay.
theirs. So, okay. So it sounds like everyone should expect to hear from Rick or Dom to get those things on the books right away. Okay, anything else from anyone?
Barb, can we still rely on Emily to post the agendas and the minutes? Or if not, we'll need to have access to be able to do that.
I don't want to overcommit Emily, but we would need somebody at DPS to post things to the DPS webpage. So, Dan,
I think, so let's start by saying for the purposes of the regular meeting, nothing has changed. We're not changing any of the routine procedures. I think before I commit, we just need to have a bit of a conversation and better understand what the commitment is. My gut answer here, and it's probably premature, is we'll figure something out, but I just don't want to commit that it's Emily or, a specific resource until I know a little bit more about what the plan is.
why don't
Thank you.
we, Dom, Rick, Dan, and Paul, if you'd like, stay on the call after this meeting is over and get some sense of what this commitment's going to be, so people know at least what they're checking on. Does that work?
Works
Sure.
for us.
Okay. All right then. Next meeting, as I said, is July 2nd. Is there a motion to adjourn today?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. I heard Jim.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mike. All right. All in favor of adjourning for today, raise your hand or signify by saying aye. All righty. Hands are up. The meeting is adjourned. Thanks again. Some of you are going to hang on for a minute, and we'll see you all very soon or be in touch very soon. Thanks, everybody.